Hello everyone, in this video I will try to explain to you how to use the add scroll targets function for your X-coop mod. So first you'll need to open a few files before we start. The first thing you'll do is open the folder of the level you're trying to add the scroll texture. So in my example the level is Castle Grounds, so I open the root directory of my level Castle Grounds with all the textures and everything. The second thing you need to do is to open the script.c file, and the last file we're going to need is everything I'll do. You will need to do it for each area where you have the scrolling texture. So the file you're going to need to open for each area is inside the areas folder, and it's the file called custom.model.inc.c or just model.inc.c if you renamed it. The first thing you need to do is to find out what texture is scrolling. When you have the texture that's supposed to be moving, you will try to find them inside the folder. So in Castle Ground here, I have all the texture in my level, and the texture that's supposed to be scrolling is this one. This is a waterfall texture, and this one, which is a rainbow texture. Okay, so those are the two textures that are supposed to be scrolling. And for each of those textures, you need to get the address of the texture. So it's this number starting with 0x that you can ignore. So the number is actually E005050. And for this one, the number is E023850. So you're gonna need to have the order of the texture right. So for example, in this case, the waterfall texture comes before the rainbow texture. So this is very important because when you open your script.c file and you go into the objects of the area you're in, so in my example I'm in the area 1, so this is the definition of all the objects there is inside the area 1, and you'll need to find the objects that have the behavior called rm scroll texture, or maybe it's called editor scroll texture. So in my case, they are both called rm scroll texture. So this is the two moving texture that I will have. And because the first texture that comes is the waterfall texture, it means that this behavior is linked to the waterfall moving texture. And so the second one is the rainbow. So this one is the texture, the rainbow texture that's moving. So this is very important because when you will test and see that everything is okay, you can debug which texture is not scrolling properly, and this is very important if you have issues. So I'm gonna start with the first one, which is the waterfall texture. So you're gonna get the number, like I said, so E005050, and you're gonna search it inside the custom.model.inc.c of each areas. So I have only one area in my case. So I have opened the file here, and I will search inside this file E005050. It's gonna find a line that starts with set texture image. So this is the waterfall texture. And to find out which triangles are using that texture, so each time you're gonna see this function below the declaration of the texture, it's gonna be the vertices that are using the texture. And so when you find another set texture image, it means that it's going to change the texture, so everything below that will be for this texture and not the texture that we're looking at. So in this case, just find below this line, okay, and above the next set texture image line. So it's going to be here somewhere, okay? And as I told you, it's going to be only the vertex function. So when you have figured out that, for each line vertex, you're going to need the VB name. Okay, so it starts with VB underscore and then the name of the level, the area, and then the address of the VB. And then you're going to need this number, which is the length, the size, the count, the vertices count. So now we're gonna go into inside our main.lua, okay, so for our mod, and we're gonna call the function add scroll targets. The first argument is the ID of the scroll texture, and this you will find it inside the script.c. For each line of the scroll texture behavior, there is one number just before the behavior name, okay? So this is the behavior name, and just before it, there will be a number. this is the ID of the scrolling texture. So in this case, the ID will be 234. Then the second argument is the name of the VB. You're just gonna paste exactly this name. Sorry, you're gonna paste exactly this name with double quotes. Then the argument after is the offset. If you don't know what to put for now, you can just leave it at 0. It's fine. And then the last argument is the size, the length, the count, this number, whatever. Okay. So now you're gonna need to do this for each VB that you see inside this file. Okay. So remember, we have found the texture here. We take all the lines that's between the set texture image of our texture and the next set texture image, whatever it is. So these are the lines. And so we look at only the lines that start with GSSP vertex. Okay. So this is the first VB. This is the second VB. So we're gonna have 4 VBs, and I'm just going to copy the ID for each, like this. Okay, and because it's 15 everywhere, I'll just put 15 everywhere, so it's the same number. Good. So far so good. Now you're gonna do a check. The check is very simple. You're gonna add up. So you're gonna do the sum of every vertices count. So 15 plus 15 plus 15 plus 15, which is 60. Okay, and you're gonna compare it to the fourth argument of this line. So the first one is this 0. Okay, we don't care. The second one is this 8. The third one is this 5, and the fourth one is 48. This is the vertices count that are supposed to be scrolling. And in our case, we have 60. Okay, so this means that it will not work properly. You will have, most likely, you will have another texture that will be scrolling, or you will have the texture that's supposed to be scrolling, some part of it won't scroll. Okay, to fix this, we're gonna need to look at the first VB and the last VB, because most likely, usually, the VBs in the middle are okay. Okay, so you don't need to change anything. But the first VB, we can look and try to find the issue. And as you can see, below the vertex function, there are triangle functions. And the way it works is that for each triangle function, you will have 3 indices, okay, index. So for this one, SP1 triangle, it's only one triangle defined. So the vertices are 12, 13, and 14. Just ignore the fourth argument. And where there are 2 triangles, there will be 2 set of index. So 6, 7, 8, which is the first triangle, and then ignore the fourth argument, the 0, and then 9, 10, 11. So to summarize, in our case, we have one triangle that consists of 6, 7, 8, one triangle that consists of 9, 10, 11, and one triangle that consists of 12, 13, and 14. Okay? Those are the IDs of the vertices, which are inside this VB. So VB is probably something like vertex buffer, I don't know, whatever. So if you go into the definition of this variable, it's an array, and it contains vertices. Okay, so this is the position of the vertices, and then there is some other properties of that vertex. Okay, so that means that the 6th vertex inside this array is used as the first point of the triangle. The 7th is the second point, and the 8th is the third point. And this is exactly the same for each triangle. So if we take the 6th vertex, so it's the ID, and in programming, IDs start at 0. Well, not in Lua, because I don't know, for whatever reason, Lua is the only programming language that I know that don't start at 0, but whatever. So this means it's not the 6th, actually, it's the 7th. So this is 0, Okay, this is 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this one is the 6, the ID 6 that we have here. Okay, then the 7 and then the 8. So those are just those 3. So those 3 points form a triangle, okay, which is painted using the texture. So in this case, it's the waterfall texture. So this means that every single vertices that are not painted with that texture are not useful in our case. So every vertices that's below 6 are not supposed to move because they are not painted with the waterfall texture. They are probably painted with another texture. Okay? So what we're gonna do, because we only use 6, 7, 8 until 14, so this means we use all of those, we're gonna need to do an offset because actually this VB starts at this index. So we're gonna need to offset by the number of elements we skip. So in this case, we skip 6 elements. So here in our Lua, we're gonna need to do an offset of 6. And this is only because we don't use the vertices that are below 6, okay? And because we added an offset, the size of the vertices changes. Because now they are not anymore 15 vertices because we start at 6, okay? They are actually 9 because we removed 6. So it's just 15 minus 9, which is, 15 minus 6, which is 9, okay? And now we can check, and if we do the count, it will be actually, we remove 6 from 60, so it's 54. But it's still not 48, so there is another issue, and so we're gonna continue looking at those. And the second we need to check is the last one, okay? The last one, as we can see, start at 0. So the first vertex is used, 1, 2. So 0, 1, 2, then 3, 4, 5, then 6, 7, 8. So all of the vertex from 0 to 8 are used. So we don't need to change the offset. But because all the vertices after 8 are not used, here we can just stop at the vertex of ID 8, which is the 9th vertex. So we can just put 9 as the length, okay? Because we only use this one, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And if we count the number of lines here, we have 9 lines. So we removed 6 elements from here. And now, if we do the sum, it adds up to 48. So it should be working for this texture. And now we're going to do the same thing for the other texture, which is the rainbow texture that we have here. And so we're going to start again, add scroll target. We're going to need the ID, so it's this number here, so 235. And then now we're going to need to search for the address of the texture, so E023850, okay? So E023850. Okay, so this is this line. And if we search for the next set texture image line, it's here. So we need to get all of this. Okay, so I'm gonna do a fast forward just to put all of this inside the main.lua. Okay, and because the number here is still 15 and everywhere it's 15, I'm just gonna leave 15 here for now. So now we can do the same thing. We can add everything. We can sum everything, and if you add up everything here, you're gonna get 135. And if we look at the fourth argument here, so 0 is the first, 16 is the second, 5 is the third, and 120 is the fourth. And we have actually 15 vertices too much because we have 135. Okay. So same thing, we're gonna check the first and the last one. Okay, so the first is the same case we have earlier. So it starts at 6. So we only have 9 vertices with an offset of 6. So it's going to be the same thing here. But this does not fix because now we have 129. So we have 9 vertices too much. And now if we check the last one is correct because as you can see it's using every single ID from 0 to 14. So we don't have anything to change here. But sometimes the vertices, so in this case it's very specific. It's a very specific case. But the rainbow texture is the last texture of our level. Okay, of our level, yes. So this is the last VB that we're gonna have inside our file. And sometimes the last VB are gonna be filled with zeros vertices like this. So these are not actual vertices, okay? These are just a way to fill the array so that it has 15 elements. So we're just gonna need to remove them. So because the offset of 0 is fine, so we're gonna need to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The 6 first vertices are good, but every other are bad. So here, the length, we're gonna change the length and put 6 instead of 15. And now we have removed 9 vertices, and so the count adds up to 120. Okay, so I hope everything was clear enough and understandable. Just feel free to ask if you have any question, and yeah, feel free to DM me if you have issues, and everything will be all right. Okay, so yeah, thanks for watching. I hope that helps, and goodbye.